Welcome back. Well, there are now fears that the town of Knysna is beginning to run out of water. The Akkerkloof Dam, which supplies that area, is down to just 20%. The town probably has less than 2 weeks' worth of water left. Dr. Richard Martin is the acting municipal manager in Knysna. Dr. Martin, good afternoon to you. How worried are you about this situation?
Good afternoon. Yes, we are obviously very worried. It is a serious situation. You're talking about a 20%, which basically give us 13 days. So we are obviously looking at augmenting our water resource, but at the moment it is a critical situation, and it's all hands on deck so that we are able to look at alternative resources, augmenting the existing. But also, as you will know, that rain hasn't been good to us, so our water supply is very low at the moment.
Is it just a lack of rain, or have there been other factors that led to this problem?
I think the primary one has been the weather conditions. If you look at the weather pattern and you look at the supply from between this year and last year, it's obviously gone down this season. So that has been a major factor, given that we obviously depend on our rain to fill up our resources and our supply sources. And then secondly, we have identified that there are leakages in our system. So there's a lot of work being done as we speak. And over the next while, we will be looking at our leakages. There's some pipe works that sometimes we have pipe bursts, given the soil conditions in Knysna. So yes, we need to look at those leakages. We're losing quite a lot of water out of that. That's both in the formal areas and in the informal areas. And then the third one, we had a consultation with the weather service. It would appear that over the next 6 months, we're not going to get the rain that we think we are used to. So obviously, there is a question of demand management. We're going to have to make sure that those people that are using more than what they would normally use, that they start to manage their use, because it is now for the good of the whole town and not only particular communities.
I mean, every municipal water system loses water. In Joburg, I think it's about 45%. Do you know how much you're using? And as you say, like many other places, you have a large number of people to help.
Yes, we have a calculation. We have a big loss at the moment because of leakages. There's something close to circa 40% that we lose in the system, and that could be because of water that we are not collecting the water at the moment, or it could be because of leakages. There's also a lot of vandalism of our infrastructure. There's a lot of breakages in our infrastructure, so we are losing a lot of water, and that is an urgent matter that we are looking at. We have been able to set up a joint operation command center with the provincial government and other local stakeholders, and they're all helping to make sure that we are able to, at least over the next couple of weeks, see that we have enough water in the system so that we don't get to that day zero that everyone, I think, is fearing that might be coming.
You've implemented water restrictions already, of course, and quite intense ones. Is that helping? I mean, is that making people use less water?
Our council have declared a level 4, and that is a high out of between 1 and 5. The next level will be level 5. So if we, in the next couple of days, see there's no change, we are going to have to get our council to declare a level 5. Level 5 basically means that you're stopping the system and you're basically supplying water. You have these tanks all in the communities. Your listeners would remember way back in the city of Cape Town when they were working on a day zero, when people had to go and collect water at certain points. And that is going to be the next step. We have already identified our kind of big, huge water users, and we have communicated with them. So we are looking at reducing that. The second thing, we will be starting with throttling, which basically means that we are looking at the demand as it goes out. So we say certain areas, certain zones in the community, we will stop the water so that we have a trickle-down effect as opposed to a free flow. So there are ways that means that we can actually extend the 13 days until we are able to get to our new resources that we are working on at the moment. There's frantically engineers from province and our own engineers working on water supply sources, drilling water. And we have 2 or 3 sources that we know within the next week will be able to come on stream. And then we're also looking more at a longer term period to look at augmenting our water resource.
There's a joint operations committee. It involves national government, the Western Cape, and of course yourselves. Are they able to provide much help? I mean, in the end, they can't make it rain.
They can't make it rain, but they can come with resources. They can come with technical expertise. And already, as I indicated, we in fact, just yesterday and today, we had meetings with our provincial counterparts, with our colleagues in the Garden Route, with our National Department of Water Affairs. So at this stage, you are right. We desperately need rain. But in the meantime, whilst we're waiting for rain to come, we're going to need to look at drawing on to technical expertise so that we can go and look, for example, at boreholes. We need a hydrologist to help us with that. And at the moment, we're drawing on our provincial government and our national government resources to help us to look at for alternative and draw on their expertise for that.
Are there any longer-term operations you can think of to stop this from happening again? I mean, you are on the coast, so maybe a desalination plant. You need a lot of electricity for that, but we have more power than we used to have. Perhaps bigger reservoirs, bigger dams, things like that?
Look, yes, you're correct. I mean, what Knysna really need is to look at investing in a new dam. We have been doing some work over the last couple of years. We've looked at different options. Obviously, there are certain kind of soil conditions that must be there before you can actually start with a dam. So we are looking into that. That work has been done. And funding for that will be set aside. But yeah, our answer is most probably in building another dam so that we have a second resource that we can depend on. And then there are various other kind of initiatives. I think, as I indicated, the water demand management is a crucial issue. The issue of vandalism. We literally have situations where people are vandalizing our water supply. We have appointed security staff to look after that, after our security. So there are various initiatives that we are taking on board to actually do that. But in the long run, we're going to have to look at the dam. We're going to have to look at how do we manage our current supply system. We have to look at our infrastructure. And yes, it's also about, Knysna, for the last 20 years, most probably we had a problem in terms of upgrading our infrastructure. So that is going to be also one of the main things that our council will have to look at in terms of infrastructure, because if you have weak infrastructure or old infrastructure or broken infrastructure, then you will always have the problem where you have high water losses.
Why are people vandalizing water points? Are they stealing water? Is that the issue?
There's an element of people obviously wanting to have access to water. So that is the one element. There is an element where there's this plain vandalism. We have reason to believe also there's obviously an economic aspect to this also in terms of, we need to, once you vandalize the infrastructure, you need to appoint contractors. So there's some kind of business linkage to that. So we are looking into that, and that is why, as I indicated earlier, we have appointed a security company to look after all our infrastructure. And that is why we're making an appeal on a daily basis to our communities to stop with vandalizing the infrastructure, and also to start to look at their particular use and reduce the use so that we can then extend at least the 13 days so that we can all have access to water in the next couple of weeks.
Dr. Richard Martin, the Acting Municipal Manager in Knysna, thank you very much.